Hello, it's Philip Taylor speaking from Richmond Green Chambers in London. Now, it's always a pleasure to review books from Oxford University Press. They're of a very high quality. Many of them are directly relevant to what I do in my practice and many other people do in their own practices. And some years ago, when I had a criminal practice as well as a civil practice, the early editions of what is called the Blackstone Criminal Practice Today was of great help to me in trying to fathom out how to work out a particular problem that I might have, because I did find Archbold a little difficult and daunting, frankly, on occasions. Now, I don't actually do much criminal law at all now because of the way that the profession has specialised. But I do keep an eye on the books, and this particular one I think is very important because with the dawn of criminal procedure rules, the huge increase in practice directions and all the other things that have been going on, it's making it very difficult for us as common law practitioners to be much more general in our approach. Now, as advocates, that means that we've had to specialise, and that's exactly what I decided to do now some 20 years ago. What I am saying, though, is that this particular book that I'm looking at today is part of the series from OUP on the Blackstone Criminal Practice main book that they produce, which we don't review anymore. They don't provide review copies, so and it's not something that I would use particularly substantially in what I do with my own practice. However, what we do have here is what is called the Blackstone's Criminal Practice 2015 Rules and Guidelines, and this is an important book because it's a one-stop shop effectively. What it includes are the Criminal Procedure Rules 2014, Criminal Practice Directions and Sentencing Guidelines, and the book's been written by a number of people. The general editor is Professor David Ormerod, Queen's Counsel, and the consulting editor is His Honour Judge John Phillips, CBE, and they're a team of expert contributors. Elizabeth and I looked at this book and we had quite a long chat about it because I'm aware of the other books that are available, but because of the changes that are taking place within the rules and the PDs and so forth, we do need something that will assist us. And I'm going to comment a little bit more about the practice book itself, this part of it anyway, in a few minutes. The title for our review, though, is Essential for Lawyers at the Criminal Bar and Judges Too, because I think the judiciary will find this quite helpful. It's a paperback. There it is, very much nice and strong and sturdy, of course. There we go, you've got the back of it there. Now, if you look at the side, the shading bit, you can see that huge blob bit at the back, which is actually just over half the book, is, guess what? It's sentencing guidelines. And you've got a huge amount of stuff there. I went through it. Lots, for instance, that's driving, excess alcohol. You've got assaults on children. You've got a huge amount of really detailed SGs, sentencing guidelines, and then of course you've got the body of the book itself. These are the rules, the CPDs, not to be confused with continuous professional development, just to lighten the tone of this review. This is the part 17. You've got shaded areas too, which are actually very helpful. At the back, there is in fact a very detailed index to be expected. The book runs to 700 pages, just over. The front of the book, again, it is not that flimsy. There's the list of the people involved. You can see a lot of people. Some of them people I'm sure you know, we've been in front of. Then there's a very short introduction which tells you really what's in this. And then you've got the contents, which is quite detailed and actually helpful to find things quite quickly. You've got the rules there listed, and what you have is you have the rule, you have the part number itself, and you can see the structuring which comes into it there. And then you have the practice direction immediately afterwards. There we go. I'll show you a little bit more. Those are some of the cases, the statutes, and I'll show you just a little bit of how it works. There's all the various other little tables. Then we go straight into the rules there, and then if I just give you an example, there is the main, it's listed criminal procedure rules and criminal practice directions. So you've got them all together in one place. And I think that's very helpful. I'm sure that will be of help to both judges and counsel. You can see how it's done. You've got the rule, you've got the overriding objective. What a surprise, that's obviously everything that we would be looking for is there. Then you go straight into the PD itself, which is the boxed area. I found that very helpful, and I'm sure all practitioners will. It's a good book, this. I'm very impressed with it. I've always have been impressed when the original books appeared. They were a boon to us after the years of dealing with, well, frankly, were quite turgid documents in terms of books, and we needed something that was a bit of a breath of fresh air, and this is what we've got. As I've said, I'm very pleased with OUP for doing this, because they do make our lives a lot easier. And that's the purpose of these reviews, is to tell you what we've got and why these things are of some help. It won't be helpful to everyone, but I think I've found it helpful. And I think it's the ease of the written word which is actually quite good when it comes across to you when you're looking for something quite quickly. This is what we say every criminal barrister should beg, buy or borrow Blackstone's Criminal Practice 2015 Rules and Guidelines, preferably buy it. Obviously that's an important characteristic for what the OUP people want, but obviously if you've got the criminal practice itself, this is the book that must go with it. And we've got the same thing happening with other publishers. I'm not going to mention them now, but you've got other types of practice book where the rules come in with the book, sometimes afterwards, and they are standalone books. So it does in fact assist us as practitioners to know where to look to find things, because frankly if you want to look on the internet you'll find it eventually, but it takes a lot of time up. This is it is actually a bit simpler. Now, it's none other, of course, this book, than the new companion volume to what we've said is the established Blackstone's Criminal Practice. Therefore, it's Blackstone's version of the rules, and it contains the complete text of the Criminal Procedure Rules 2014 and the Criminal Practice Directions, the PDs, as well as the Sentencing Guidelines, the SGs, as at the 6th of April 2015. And as I say, they take up half the book. So it is half sentencing, half rules and PDs. But again, as I say, I think it will prove to be very helpful for practitioners in court. Published by OUP, it can be used as a standalone, easy access reference and produced with the needs of the hard-pressed practitioner in mind. It incorporates recent organisational changes, the most notable being that the criminal procedurals, the CPR, and the relevant PDs are presented as a single integrated document with each rule followed by its accompanying PD. That I found helpful, no question about it. While it can certainly be used on its own, depending on the nature of the case, many practitioners will like the idea of having a separate volume of rules and guidelines to accompany the usual practice book that they take with them to court. And as I've said, this is something that's happening elsewhere. Other publishers are doing the same thing. And I think we are in a position now, I mean, I'm almost getting to a point, I'm taking a suitcase with me just for the books when I'm going to court anyway. So, just add another one, make it even heavier. Now, what do we say about this book then is I also think it will be of great help to judges who will appreciate the convenience of having all the pertinent information at hand. And like everybody else, they will have their own guides as to what they're doing with the procedural stuff, which is supplied certainly in the Crown Court. But I do think that this book, again, will be of some help. And I hope it's of assistance. I mean, that's the purpose behind producing it. We think also that researchers will appreciate the extensive table of cases, statutes, SIs, PDs, code of conduct, guidelines and protocols and circulars, and of course the European legislation, all of which can be found at the front. There's also a table of international treaties and conventions and other legal instruments, plus what is a very useful detailed index for easier reference at the back. It's no doubt it's an authoritative work, but it's more than a book. It's been produced by this expert team of contributors under the editorship of David Ormerod, and it incorporates a service designed to provide busy practitioners with easy access to latest developments, and that's what they do. It's got a companion website which provides free monthly updates and other digital services, and you can also register to receive Blackstone's Criminal Practice update, which is a quarterly newsletter, which is also free. And I get it actually by email, and what I have got in addition is I believe there's quite a lot of stuff, if you're looking online, which you can find, which is all part of the service, because by the time you signed up for this, you should be actually getting something for the money you're paying, and I think you do in this case. So let me summarise by saying it's a book that's invaluable for use by criminal practitioners, I think at all levels of criminal court. It's already become widely held as a view that no criminal practitioner should be without it, and we would certainly concur with that. And the publication date, of course, is cited at 2015. Let me just show it again. There's not much by way of commentary in here at all, because it's not designed for that. It's the front, the spine and the back again. But if you go into the front itself, there isn't really very much by way of an introduction. I'm no doubt this will be built up, as it always is, over the years, but at the moment it's a very straight statement for 2015 of where we are at the moment. Then of course you've got the contents, which are helpful. Just going straight into the middle of it. Custody and bail and disclosure, for instance, there you can see how well it's laid out. And if you're used to the house style of OUP, you shouldn't have any problems with it. I was taken, I must say, by the sentencing guidelines, for instance, the magistrate's court powers in certain aspects. We've got a lot of books now on the market about sentencing guidelines and so forth, and we know that the judiciary have their own information as well. But I do think it's important for us to all know who's got access to what and what they're using. We've got the excellent Banks on Sentence, which of course I think is the definitive work in that area, which Robert Banks has produced, and thank you for that. But this again is, as I say, it's got all the information you want in one place. So it depends very much on what task you've got in front of you. Can I, on behalf of everybody who practices, thank you all very much indeed for producing this for us. We do rely on this sort of information. It does make our lives much easier in what is a difficult climate, with many more litigants in person and a very big change taking place in the way we do our legal business. Thank you to all anyway. Bye-bye.